Fantasy matchup, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson. The question here is, who do you think would have won the fight? Now, a lot of people would pick Khabib based off of Tony's recent, losing streak. For me, I don't think that's fair. I think you have to give it Tony Ferguson in his prime versus Khabib in his prime. You cannot judge a fighter by the diminished version of themselves, and that's what we've been seeing from Tony. We saw him versus Justin Gaethje. He got fucked up in that fight. After that fight, it was one of those things where it's like, will he be the same? And it's kind of been a gradual, Then the Michael Chandler fight happened. That's an even worse knockout, you could argue. And it just continued from there to the point where we're watching him lose to guys like Bobby Green. And this is no shade. It is shade towards Bobby Green. It is, but it's not meant in a disrespectful way, right? It's just, them's the facts. In 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, you would never, ever, ever consider Bobby Green beating Tony Ferguson. They were around at the same time. I promise you, you would never in your head see it. And the fact that we saw Bobby Green sinking in an arm triangle, no less, submitting Tony Ferguson. If Bobby Green was to win that fight, it would be like a TKO or outbox him or something like that. But for him to submit Tony Ferguson the way he did was just so inconceivable that is burned into my mind forever, personally. And it's a great moment for Bobby Green. But nonetheless, Tony Ferguson was way, way, way out of his prime, and it was a watered-down version of him. It is what it is. So with that said, we have to compare fighters in their primes. Now, Tony Ferguson is, stylistically, I think, a bad matchup for Khabib. I think he gives Khabib problems. I think if Khabib takes him down, the elbows are going to be there. I think if Khabib takes him down, he's going to have to worry about 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, which is typically different from your normal style of Jiu-Jitsu. It's kind of, it's funkier. It's more based for MMA. Eddie Bravo says the rubber guard is the best guard for MMA, you know what I mean? Like, this is what it was built for. And I think Tony was going to go in there and showcase it, and maybe not. Maybe he gets flattened out and smashed and things like that. Maybe not, but maybe he puts him in a lockdown. Maybe he gets a crazy sweep off Khabib, and now, holy shit, Khabib's on his back and Tony's on top, you know what I mean? Maybe Tony got his back somehow. Who knows? And that is what we all wanted to see. We all wanted to see a guy like Tony Ferguson who could strike. Go watch his fight with RDA. Tony Ferguson is a really good striker as well. The movement of Tony Ferguson, the trickery of Tony Ferguson, that little tail swipe thing that he does, that's not the only thing he does. He's got a lot of tricky stuff in there. All of it, that one of the trickiest styles of the sport that allowed him to go on a crazy, I want to say 10 fight, maybe even more winning streak for Tony Ferguson at that time. That style would have been a nice thing to see Khabib go against. It would have been like, holy shit, how does Khabib deal with this? And Khabib very well may have went in there and, maybe he lands a hard shot on Tony Ferguson, drops Tony, gets on top. It could have went like Islam versus Charles Oliveira. It could have went like that. But we don't know. And we've never seen it, and we never will see it, Another thing I want to bring up in favor of Tony Ferguson is the fact that Tony had inspiration and a goal towards fighting Khabib or Conor, right? It was those two guys. When all of a sudden Khabib retires from the sport and, what the hell? I really just lost out on my chance to fight this guy after being signed to fight him like 4 or 5 times and it falling out each time. That hurts. When you have a goal in your mind. For Tony Ferguson, even fighting Khabib or Conor without the belt, if Tony Ferguson gets that Conor fight, I promise you, we'll probably see the best version of Tony Ferguson in this. Not the best version of this, in the sense that he's going to have a goal. It's going to be like winning a championship to beat the guy that was in his bracket at the time back then. It was Conor, Khabib, and Tony Ferguson. That was the big three. And if Tony were to get a win over either of them, even now, even now, and they could compete in anything. If Tony Ferguson showed up to a ping pong place and Khabib was there already mid-session, Tony would get online to play Khabib in ping pong. I promise you this. It's just what it is. So with that said, Tony doesn't have that goal anymore. So I think that takes away from his drive. Now he got to go from looking at fighting guys like Conor and Khabib. Those were his big mega fights. Now he got to go back to fighting guys like Beneil Dariush. Who the hell is this guy? Why am I fighting another who the hell is this guy? I'm on the level of legend status, you know? And they got me making young legends out here fighting Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje. They feeding me to the wolves, you know? Like, it is what it is, bro. I like Tony Ferguson. I like Khabib. I would have loved to see this matchup. I think everybody would have loved to see this matchup. The talk behind it was incredible, and that's my take. I don't know who would win this. I think Khabib is that damn great to still get the job done, even if Tony brings all that funky 10th planet stuff. I would probably go with Khabib to win, give him an edge, but you don't know. You really just don't know. It could go the other way. We've seen it happen so many times in the sport of MMA. That's what makes it the great sport that we all love, you know. Anything could happen, so you never know. Let me know what you think happens in the comment section below. Whether you agree with me, disagree with me, it does not matter. Just join the discussion and please follow for more. Thank you.